My name is Gabe, and today I want to talk about agency, both the narrative concept and the book by William Gibson that shows exactly what happens when you decide not to include agency in a story. Now, before we begin, housekeeping. This book is sort of a sequel, and normally that would disqualify me from reviewing the book. However, I had to do some digging to find out it's a sequel, as it's not even stated anywhere on the book, and if you ran into this in a bookstore or library, you'd assume it's standalone. So I feel no guilt whatsoever in reviewing this book as is, even though I have not read the previous book. Normally, I'd provide a summary of the story, but honestly, only 3 things happen in this book. 4 if you count characters from the future doing stuff that has nothing to do with the overall story, just for padding's sake and to fit with a stupid gimmick that really doesn't make much sense. So here's everything that happens in this book. Our protagonist, Verity, talks to a super sentient AI named Eunice. Eunice makes Verity a public enemy number 1 of a very large corporation for no really good reason. At the end of the book, Eunice reveals herself to the world, and that's it. That's basically it. That's every notable thing that happens in the book. I told you it ain't much. You might think that was a lacking summary, but it isn't. That's it. Now to get to the point, the reason that I felt this video was worth making in the first place. Our protagonist, Verity, makes a grand total of not 1, not 2, not 3, but 0 choices in the entire book. That's right, not 1. The AI Eunice, or people from the future, tell her to do something, and she just does it. No questions asked. No commitment, no personality. She doesn't even call her mother of her own volition. She has to be told by the AI to do that twice. That's the book's biggest problem talked about, so let's talk about the good stuff. Chapter 1. That's right. The book actually starts out promising. In the first chapter, which focuses on Verity and Eunice talking to each other, their interactions kind of give off a specific type of personality, which I will just say aside here. For the rest of the book, Verity displays no personality on account of making no choices. We're told about past relationships she's had, but we don't get to see any personality presented itself, except for in the first chapter. And everything is kind of set up nicely from there. Now, if only they'd act on the promise, right? There is something else I want to talk about before I get to the final point of this review. The gimmick. I mentioned a little earlier when I was talking about the summary that this book tries to condense itself in a gimmick. Every other chapter switches point of view characters. Odd chapter, we're in Verity's point of view. Every even chapter, we're in random guy from the future's point of view, who also, by the way, is only doing anything he does in the story because he's being told by a boss. So he doesn't have any agency either. I also said that the entire future, nothing in the future that happens is actually important, and that remains true. But even so, this gimmick is in place even when the guy is just watching Verity. He's watching Verity do something, yet the book is still telling it to us from his point of view, even though it would probably be better to tell it from hers, what little is happening. Now, whenever I read a bad book, I like to think, how could the book have been done better? And honestly, in this one, it boils down to one thing. Remove the future. The future contributes nothing to the overall story, and in the end, without them, I think Verity would have had a chance to act of her own accord. There's a point in the book where Eunice is gone. During that time, the people from the future take Eunice's place. But if they weren't there, Verity could have made those decisions herself, as a lot of the people that she ends up going to are people she knew anyway. And that's that. If you like this video, leave a like. If you want to see more like it, do subscribe. But more importantly than anything else, have a good night.